Okay, so today we're going to talk foundations. Not every foundation is created equally, and we all need a specific kind for us, for our skin, and our desired look. So there's 3 questions you need to be able to answer before picking out your own foundation. First of all, what is your skin type? Are you oily, dry, or combo? If you are extremely oily, you would want to stay away from any moisturizing products such as a BB cream. It's going to make you look more oily. And if you are extremely dry, you want to stay away from just powders unless you're using another item with it, like a BB or a foundation or maybe a concealer. The next question you want to ask yourself is, what kind of finish are you looking for in this product? Do you want a matte finish or do you want a dewy look? If you want a dewy look, you're probably going to stay away from all the powders. If you want a matte look, you're going to want a foundation that either is mattifying, liquid to powder, or top it off with some type of powder. And then the last question you want to ask yourself is, what kind of coverage are you looking for? Light, medium, or full? Now, most foundations are usually light to medium. Full coverage is hard to get, and if you get full coverage, it's going to be a little bit thicker. But you can adjust any of your foundations for more coverage just by playing around and mixing, and I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. Okay, so when trying to get the perfect foundation and that flawless look, you need to figure out what kind of coverage you need and what your skin type is. There are so many different options for foundation that you need to figure out what works best for you. So you can do something like a BB cream, which is a tinted moisturizer. It's going to give a lot of nourishment with little coverage. So this is going to be a light coverage foundation. Great for girls who have extremely dry skin or someone who just wants a little bit of coverage, but not a lot. They have pretty good skin. They just want something light. Throw it on, walk out the door. Maybe you're someone who needs a little bit more coverage and you want to go with a liquid foundation. Most liquid foundations are great for usually any skin type unless you're extremely oily. Then you just want to double check and make sure that you put on both a primer and a powder afterwards. So liquid foundation. Then there's always concealer. Some people just use concealer and then that's it to touch up and walk away. Others use concealer with their foundation, or they use concealer with the BB. You can mix concealer with anything to give yourself the right amount of coverage. I even know some ladies, and sometimes myself, who use concealer to touch up and then a powder on top of it as my all over. You can also just go the powder route. This is great for anyone with extremely oily skin. If you just want a light, typical powders give a light coverage. Younique's powder actually gives a medium to full coverage, and you can combine that with any of the other products. There's also the option of using something like a liquid bronzer or a liquid illuminator. I like to use the liquid bronzer in mixing it with one of the other 3 products. So there really are no rules to foundation. It just depends what kind of coverage you're looking for. Light, medium, or full, and sometimes you have to play with it and mix to get the right combo for what you're looking for. So I'm going to show you a few different ways on my face. Okay, so let's say you don't want anything too heavy, you just want to touch up some spots and then a little bit of powder. So you can use your finger and just take a concealer. This is the Skin Perfecting Liquid Concealer from Younique. It's pretty potent, and just move it all around everywhere you need it. You can also use a brush, but sometimes the heat from your fingers is the best tool because it actually melts the products into your skin. Now I'm going to use pressed powder to go over the rest of my face and those spots that I covered with the concealer. You can either use a sponge or you can use a brush, either way. I feel like the sponge gives a little bit more coverage. So if you have really dry skin Or if you just want a lighter coverage, using a BB cream is a really good option. This is a tinted moisturizer that provides light coverage. So I'm going to show you that plus 2 other options to use with it. So if I were just to use this, I would apply a small amount with my fingers on the desired area, so all over my face. This gives a sheer coverage, and it's also a little bit dewy, so if you like that dewy look, you just leave it just like this. Don't top it with anything. But let's say you need a little bit more coverage. You can mix BB with any other product, with a foundation, a concealer, a bronzer, to give yourself a little more coverage and a different finish. So I'm going to apply a little bit of BB with a little bit of concealer and apply it to this side of my face. Just a fingertips amount. I might need a little bit more BB. Like that. Mix it together and then apply. All right, for this side of my face, I'm going to be using BB and a liquid bronzer. Whoop. Okay, so the liquid bronzer only takes a teeny bit. I'm going to mix it together and apply it just like we did before. This is going to give me a little bit more coverage, also a little bit of a glow, great for the summertime. It has a slight shimmer to it, so mixing it with another product really brings down the shimmer. So any of these products are great for anyone who wants a little bit of extra moisture, a little bit of a dewy look, or light to medium coverage. Now you can alter this a little bit by adding some pressed powder to it. Now you can alter this look by mattifying it with adding pressed powder or loose powder to your face. That will give you a little more coverage and also take away a little bit of that shine. So I'm going to be using the pressed powder and a brush and just sweeping it on. Okay, and now we're going to talk foundation. This is the typical liquid foundation that most people probably wear. Before you use foundation, make sure you're putting on a primer. Primer is what is going to give you that smooth surface to start with. It fills in any lines and wrinkles, and then it's going to allow your makeup to go on more smoothly, last longer. You're going to use less foundation, and then some of them are water resistant, so it helps to fight against sweat and a little bit of rain or water that gets splashed on you. Okay, so I'm going to be using Liquid Touch liquid foundation. This is a liquid to powder formula. There's all different kinds of foundation that you can use. Some have a matte finish, some have a liquid dewy finish, others are liquid to powder, so it just depends what you're going to use. Now I typically like to mix mine with a little bit of concealer for my trouble spots. So you can either touch up beforehand. So this is me touching up before, and I'll show you after as well. You also want to know what kind of brush to use with your foundation. There are all different kinds. A ton of different kinds of liquid foundation brushes. So it really depends on the type of foundation you use for which brush you should use. So talk to the rep or consultant or the person at the counter of where you're getting your foundation to figure out which brush is good for each foundation. I can't answer that because they're all so different. For ours, I'm going to be using this small kind of dense brush. Because of the airbrush look afterwards, the liquid to powder, I need to buff it in. I'm at the very bottom of my tube, so I put a little bit on and I'm going to touch the rest with this. And then you take your brush and just blend it in. One thing you might want to consider is how layerable your foundation is. Some foundations are layerable, so you can, once it dries, put on another coat to get the desired coverage you need. Some are not, and they're going to look very cakey. So you need to talk to your rep or your consultant to figure out if your foundation is layerable. Mineral Touch is. So once it dries, I can put a little bit more on where I need it. So my problem areas are typically right here and here. You can also add concealer afterwards. So before or after, that's really a personal preference on what you like. And just like with the other products, you can finish it up with a little bit of pressed powder to give it a little bit more coverage, to mattify it and make it last a little bit longer. Remember, there's really no right or wrong foundation, and nothing works for everybody. It's all individual. So feel free to play with what you have. Mix products. If you need a little bit more moisture, add in more of a moisturizer or a BB cream. If you need it to be more mattified or last longer, try topping it with a different powder. So play around with your products. If you need help with this, I'll be more than happy to help you.